episode number 31.
31 is in the books.
31's in the books. This one had a lot in it. This geared toward vendors.
Yeah.
So this one's for you vendors out there today. Tony and I talking about our events from last week, and as is usual for this podcast, it led into the topic of the day and us really talking about, managing client expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And
being there for the client, understanding how to work with unruly clients, as well as just figuring out how to handle challenges that may not be presented to you right when you talk about them. And
Right.
so it's really good to get an idea of how to just understand preparation and understanding curveballs that are thrown at you on wedding day. or
Totally.
Any event day.
I had an awesome event last week that just, it had its challenges, and really not the fault of any of the, people that were directly involved with the event, but it made for a great podcast episode.
Right. You got to hear and check out the episode to see what we're talking about. But it is really interesting to see his perspective and what he had to go with. I hadn't heard the story before the episode. And so to hear it, I was like, oh, dang, that did not sound like an easy day. And so it's cool. It's a good story. And to hear what you did was awesome, too.
Well, and it's kind of fun to just give you all a little bit of the behind the scenes and what happens sometimes at our events, right? We post out there on social media all the fist pumping and everything, and it looks all perfect all the
Right.
time. And we can take and shape these snippets for social media. But sometimes we deal with a lot of challenges behind the scenes, and so it's kind of fun to talk through that and talk about it, and it's a nice little debrief for me as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important too, because like you said, we paint this picture that we do a really good job and it's awesome, but life is life and things happen, challenges present themselves, and we work through it, and that's why we are great at what we do, right? But that's a really cool way to see it, because yes, this was something that maybe wasn't picturesque, but it still was a very successful event. You were able to do it, but
I'll tell you what, if you were a guest at this event, you probably would never know.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have, seen kind of a few things, but nothing. I think they went there. They donated their money for this charity. It was awesome for the Ronald McDonald House.
Exactly.
And they won't know, but next year, this event is going to be sick because we know. I know the scope of what they're trying to do going into it. But it made for a great episode. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of it. Let's just get to it.
Let's jump in. Let's go.
Let's go.
What do you like better, Christmas or wedding season?
Mr. Gray.
Yes. The answer would be wedding season.
Bingo.
Well, you've just inspired me to hire a DJ, so thank you.
Oh, well, good luck finding a DJ who can move and shake like this.
You are now listening to Cutmaster Cast.
Hey, welcome back to another round of the Cutmaster Cast, your favorite wedding industry podcast. My name is Chris.
And my name is Tony Pacheco. What's up, everybody?
And we are DJs with Cutmaster Music out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Once again, we want to thank you all for coming back to the show, joining us. We appreciate you all listening in. And on this show, if you haven't listened before, we talk about and dive into 3 areas of discussion, including our weekly events, industry business tips and hacks, and at the end of every episode, you know how we do it.
We take it back to the music, baby.
We take it back to the music every single time. Okay, so before we get started, don't forget to share the episode. Sharing is caring, peeps. So we'd love it if you find this episode interesting and you think it could be helpful. And really, this episode today is going to be geared toward vendors mostly, but if you find somebody that you think this could be helpful to, pass it along. So, and you can find us on all social media outlets at Cutmaster Music. So let's dive into it with the weekly events here. What did you have last week?
I had a high school dance. I was helping the homie Brian Billingham out because he's got all those schools on lock, right?
Right.
So he needed me to DJ it, which was great. We were at Rio Rancho High School. It was a unique setup because they had us in the center of the stage.
I saw that. You had the cube set up.
Yeah, and they were around us.
Where was it at?
In their courtyard at their high school.
Oh, it was there at Rio Rancho. Yeah.
And so
outside?
Yes, it was outside.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather. So
Thank God.
That was nice, right? It was a nice night. That was the biggest thing. I was going up to it. I was just looking up the weather report, and I was like, "Oh God, okay, we're okay." So yeah, I did that. It was amazing. 1,700 kids. That's what the staff told us at the end of it.
Nice.
Dude, it was nuts seeing these kids go. They had like a festival theme too. So they had Stagecoach, they had Rolling Loud, they had EDC, they had Rams Warped Tour. I loved that.
Dang.
It was Rio Rancho Rams, and then it was Vans Warped Tour. But
what was that? Just like different like props that were kind of
photo opportunities, I guess
yeah.
you would say. Yeah, but my girlfriend's cousin is a senior there, which was cool.
Yeah,
he was on homecoming court and all of that. But we were able to see what they were doing throughout the week. So all throughout the week, they were doing like Monday they did an EDC outfit. Tuesday they did Stagecoach, which is like country, right?
Gotcha.
Rolling Loud was like hip hop, so everyone wore like hip hop outfits or whatever.
Yeah.
And so leading up to that, everybody got to there, and then the I was kind of indifferent about it when I showed up. I was like, okay, well, we should be over there, but this will be fine. And kids are unique. The cool kids don't come till later,
Of course,
So
yep.
the first hour, you're just trying to
Freshmen show up at 5 o'clock.
and on the dot, dude. Oh, it never ceases to amaze me. There's always those like 2 or 3, that fresh couple. You can tell they're freshmen. They just show up right on time.
Right.
You don't need to be here at that time. But anyway, really good crowd, great kids, a lot of fun. These kids, man, every year it's always a new song. I've learned to have like different formulas, but you always have like a different track to give them. Like I love to do.
So what was it this year?
It's Ski Yee, Sexy Red.
Yep.
Have you heard that? Ski Yee in the club, Ski Yee. These dang kids, man.
All these TikTok track probably,
Yep,
right?
It's exactly it. But yeah, she's been blowing up. Sexy Red is her name. She's an artist, and it's all right. I get it. I understand the hype behind it. It's the same idea of I just want to rock. Right? Like you don't get it, but when you see everybody losing it over, you're like, okay, I get the energy behind it.
The energy is fun, so I'll give it that too. Like anytime there's like new songs or tracks that I'm just not familiar with, or maybe I'm personally not feeling, I can feel the energy
Right,
when the rest of the room is doing it.
Going,
It's like
yeah.
it can make me get into it.
Yeah. But what I've done forever now is all I do is win no matter what, right? So
Right.
my hands go up, and then you drop.
Drop.
Whatever track it is.
Right.
Used to be, I remember Black Beatles, Ray
Yeah.
Shremmer,
Yep.
way back. And so just all of those. But yeah, was at Rio Rancho High School, was done by 10:30.
Oh.
It was fantastic.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And then, went home.
Nice.
Hung out. It was a good day.
Yeah, speaking of the school dances and, Brian kind of having the lockdown on those big ones, like a week ago, Volcano Vista calls us up and says, hey, we thought we had Brian booked, but we gave him the wrong date.
Yep. That's what he told me. I just talked to him today.
Yeah, and they were trying to hit us up to do the dance, and we were already booked, so we couldn't do it. I hope they had
Got Adrian.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's cool.
Yeah. Brian's pretty close with Adrian as well with trussing and stuff like that. And so he hit him up. They figured it all out. Yeah.
Yeah, and Adrian will do a good job for him.
Exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. So they had a good. I knew another one of my buddies. He DJs here locally. He was putting it on his story, and I was like, oh, good. Adrian and his homie got it.
Yeah.
So
like nice. You want these kids to all have a
still want them to have
a
fun.
great dance and have a good time. So like this weekend is Jonas's at Sandia. It's their homecoming week.
Nice.
They had hit us up too, but we've got all 3 of us going out this week. We were already booked. So.
This weekend is the most popular wedding weekend of the year. It is.
And that's with the schools. And we've talked about this, I think, in the past before, where it makes it really hard and tough because when you have event companies like us, we get booked a year plus out in advance, especially for the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most popular time for weddings. And then they're not thinking about their school dance until like the start of the school year, which is like August.
Yep.
And their homecoming's in a month. And we've been booked out for 9, 10, 11 months already.
Very
and
true.
so, for them to find really good DJs, luckily they can get somebody like Brian because he's not really doing the private event space as much anymore with weddings specific, and he's more concentrated on the school, so he can handle a lot of that,
Exactly.
But when if a situation happens like it did with him and he's not available, then it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it gets scary real quick.
Right.
So. But yeah, I'm glad they had fun. But yeah, I'm excited for this weekend, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun with all of us on deck.
Yeah, we got a triple header with Cutmaster crew out this weekend. So
we got 4 weddings this weekend because I have one on Friday.
Oh, that's right. We have 4. You've got a Friday, Saturday. Victoria, I think, is on Saturday, and I'm on Saturday as well. So,
Sweet.
cool. So we're going to talk
about you? Yeah, where were you at?
We're going to talk about my event, and my event is actually going to lead us into today's topic as well.
Okay.
But I'm going to give a brief overview of mine. It was cool. It was a charity event out at Electric Playhouse.
Yep, that's right.
I had never been there before, and part of what we're going to talk about in setting expectations, a little bit might fall on me here, and not necessarily prepared, but not having ever been to the venue before. And typically I'll go do a venue walkthrough before any event, especially at a venue I've never been to make sure, you just kind of talk through
Not
things.
going
and
in blind.
Yeah, but this one, the reason I didn't is because they had booked me just to roll in my DJ booth.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was rolling in just the booth and going to plug into their system. I wasn't doing any of the lighting.
Yep.
And all my role was to play some background music and make a few announcements.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Like I was just
That was the expectation.
Yeah, I was the background guy, and then they were going to be doing this whole dinner. They're having an auction and doing all this stuff, all taken care of on their end, right?
Yeah.
So I thought,
yeah. Oh man.
So, I get there, I arrive, and because I was only just rolling in and plugging in, it takes what?
Half hour?
Not even that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, literally, roll in, plug in. I'm set up in 5-10 minutes,
Yeah,
with this. But I get there and start talking with. I find out now I've got 2 different sets of people really kind of to deal with. This charity was for the Ronald McDonald House.
Cool.
So I'd been talking only with them leading up.
With Ronald McDonald.
With Ronald McDonald House with planning.
Mm-hmm.
So I get there and now I'm dealing with Ronald McDonald people and with Electric Playhouse.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, you need to talk with so-and-so at the Electric Playhouse about getting set up and plugged in. So I find them and they said, oh, well, we heard that you were setting up all the audio.
Oh.
And we don't have anybody here.
Oh,
Yeah.
No.
So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I was told I'm plugging into your system.
Uh-huh.
And that's okay. And they're like, okay. So then we start kind of going back and forth. Oh, let me see. Let me find out what's going on. I'm like, all right. I just start loading my stuff in.
Yeah.
I'm like, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So then, somebody comes up to me and says, so have they gone through the run of show with you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, well, just doing this. And they're like, well, did they tell you about all the songs that we need for all the cues for all the just different people coming up and slides and stuff? And I'm like, no,
none of that was given to you.
I'm like, but okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, and we just need to make sure that we have microphones for everyone. And I'm like, what do you mean microphones? How many microphones do we need?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we need at least 2. I'm like, I've got 1. Well, I've got the 1 wireless microphone.
Yeah.
And and so anyways, all this stuff starts coming at me, right? And I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. And on top of this, so they don't even have me set up on the stage.
Yeah, I saw where you were.
This kind of stage area. I'm at the back, kind of by the bar.
Yep.
It's kind of, somewhat not. I don't want to say an afterthought, but the DJ, the way they originally planned and had it set up,
we're going to be is not where you were.
Nope, like the where everybody, because they had dinner tables and everything, and they had the stage, and the tables are surrounding the stage, and everybody's looking up at the stage, and I'm just at the back of the room.
Yeah,
kind of like really, I mean, what they thought too, I was just going to be playing some background music and kind of the voice of God type thing beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Like making some announcements during their auction
and that's
time.
perfect for that.
Yeah.
For what they expected you to do, you needed to kind of be front and center to be able to see, make sure your mic was in range, and
right. So I'm dealing with kind of all these logistical things coming at me, right?
Yeah.
And challenges, and so they figure out, okay, there's no way for you to plug into. We don't have a system like here for you to be able to do this and plug in. And they're like, what's the worst case scenario here? And I'm like, well, the worst case scenario is I do have a system, audio set up in the trailer
Yeah.
that I can bring out.
Subs
And I'm like, but they didn't pay
minors.
for that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how much is it going to cost? We talk about it. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll invoice you on Monday.
Yeah.
You know? And they're like, we need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it out. I'm like, so here I go. And now I've only got like 45 minutes and I'm trying to do all of this and set this all up. I've got to go download all this music now and set up all these cue points.
Yeah, but you're also setting up subs, speakers. Like, that's not 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's like 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Like this whole thing. Luckily, I didn't have I didn't have to do lighting.
Oh, yeah.
So so I get everything all set up, all up and running. And during the event, I didn't get a chance to properly ring out the room with the microphones like I would normally like to.
Yeah.
And of course, once they get up there on the stage, we start having a few little technical issues with the mics because I'm so far away from the stage and where they're talking, trying to throw this sound really far. So I'm turning up
probably 100
main
people
volume
in between you.
Yeah, and it just like and that room that we're in is a tin box anyway, the way it is. And so what I really needed to do, I just didn't have the time and I couldn't do it during the show, was what we call ringing out the room. And my software on my mixing board allows me to properly what we call ring out the room. It brings up the microphones to where they actually feedback and it cuts out those frequencies.
Yep.
So there's no feedback. Well, I'm dealing with feedback and I'm trying to do this manually on the spot while also trying to get their cue points, like with these slides going on. It was just, it was very, very challenging as a one-man show. This really needed a production crew. They were running a production. They needed a production crew. We've done events like this in the past.
Yeah.
And to do it right, you know, the sound needed to be up on the stage, facing the people, coming at them. We needed to have a production team with microphones and mixing board over there on that side, line of sight to their microphones, you know, and then somebody running it's really cued into the cue points and hitting those cue points. So you've got a team of people that are dedicated to this. And we probably needed a crew of like at minimum 3, probably 4 of us, you know, to get this thing
really make it happen.
To do it right. Okay. So, all in all, the event went fine. We got through it. It was okay. But you know how it is. It's like I see what it could have been and what it should have been.
Yeah.
And it really just wasn't up to my standards. So we're going to talk about that now. And that's going to get us into today's topic, which is navigating event surprises and managing your client expectations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about with this topic is, you know, I think you have to know the situation that you're working with and then set those expectations. And so this goes for any event. And this podcast is geared more towards weddings, but we do other events too. And I'm going to use my event from this past weekend.
Good example,
as the example of this. So we always have what I call a discovery call. And we figure out, what are we dealing with? Is this a wedding? Is this a corporate event? And what is the scope of the event, right? Like, what does it entail? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Some events want just music. Some other events are having people come up, like during the holiday parties. Usually the CEO is going to give a speech. They're going to do some raffles, some giveaways. And we just want you to play some music during dinner. And then we're going to have some dancing afterward, right? So we learn about the event and figure out really what our role is. I asked repeatedly, multiple times. Most of I have to say my communication was through email with them. And this is someone who hired us, who we've done their wedding in the past. Okay. So they know what we're capable of. They get it. Actually, she's I believe the CEO of the Ronald McDonald Foundation.
Yeah.
So that was good. And she knew what we were capable of and trusted us. Right. But I asked repeatedly, just wanted to make sure, because I'd never been to Electric Playhouse. I didn't know. I was like, okay, just making sure. And I only charged them, which isn't nearly the scope or the scale of a full blown out production, right? No. I'm just bringing in my decks and I'm plugging in and I'm playing and I'm heading out. Easy.
Yep.
So I was told that we'd just be DJing background music, doing a few MC announcements. That's it. Okay, so I figured that that's the scope of my role in this event.
Yeah, so you set up everything, you figure it out, you get all your prep, but then, if you're not prepped, then of course you're not going to be successful, and that's where it gets frustrating because they didn't give you everything that you needed.
Well, and I don't even think they even knew. So this is part of the problem too. This drives me nuts about vendors in general.
Yeah.
Okay, in this case, I think it was the venue, and I'm not 100% positive, so I don't want to
There was a
throw
miscommunication
shade
somewhere. for
somewhere
sure.
along the line. But sometimes, and some of these vendors will say, "Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah." They're just trying to get your money and get you in the
Yeah.
door, right? Oh
Yep.
yeah, he can plug in, no problem, no problem. And like I'm sure there probably was a way for me to plug in. They had
I've been to concerts there.
they had a sound system,
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying,
like
like-
they played a slideshow
Yeah.
that had sound coming through a
There's
speaker
some
system.
in that, right? Like
But they didn't have a person there that
they
knew.
didn't. They don't know sound and
They-
mixing boards.
no clue.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I mean, it's just that drives me nuts. Sometimes, vendors saying yes, 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 but then not knowing, and then you show up day of, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
They're making commitments that they can't keep, or they're just talking about stuff that they don't even know
Right.
about.
So
and
I don't
like-
think it was on the Ronald McDonald House Foundation at
No.
all. I think they were told,
Yeah.
yeah, he can just plug in. And then when I showed up and I couldn't just plug in, thank God I had a system, right? Like,
Right.
but in all honesty, that system wasn't enough for that room. Like,
No.
not
I
the
mean,
way.
you might have been able to make it work if you were placed in the right space.
You know what? Placing would have made a
I
huge
think
difference.
sound, the way it travels in that room, I think where you would have been a lot better than tucked behind. I know where I can envision it,
Yeah.
the whole thing, and it's like
in the back.
you can just hear it kind of in the back or whatever, but
It wasn't good enough.
everybody on the opposite end can't hear anything.
Right.
And yeah, it's so simple too.
Yeah,
you know,
it was. So reiterating, just the importance of setting the expectations, and then we go over this again in our typically, like if it's a wedding, our final event review.
Yeah.
Once we figure, okay, this now everybody's got a great idea by that point.
Mhm.
Should be fine. The day should be finalized. The agenda, the timeline, the setup, the room layout, and now we know, okay, this is what's going to happen, and you make adjustments before you get to the
Yep. Exactly.
to the show, right?
Yeah.
So now I want to talk about what are some of the common surprises that can happen at our events, and I think with weddings, some things that I think that come up kind of unexpectedly: weather.
Yep.
We deal with that from time to time, especially with ceremonies.
Mhm.
you
Or
know.
layout of the room. They'll switch it up on you, and you're like, why?
I'll have this plan, right? That says,
Yeah.
okay, this looks good, and then you show up and they've got you.
Oh, yeah, you're over
stuck in
there.
the corner.
No, on the layout, it had me right here, right by the dance floor, and
Right.
so they'll, oh, well, we had to move it because the bar can only be over here and all this. Okay. But it's,
Right.
yeah, that can be super frustrating.
Yeah.
Just dealing with unruly guests
Yep.
can be totally unforeseen, but then you have to handle it and figure out how to manage those guests and keep it still positive. And
Even dealing with vendors sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And a few weeks back, I had a super A-type photographer.
yeah,
I had never worked with him before, and his introduction to me, he came into the room and was like, "Hey," and didn't he? I don't even think he said his name. "Hey, so this is what we're gonna do. Like
Yeah,
we
you said,
changed
like,
this,
we
this, and this,
changed
and this."
Yep.
And I was like looking at him like, "Okay, hey, I'm Chris.
Like, hold up.
Nice to meet
What's up,
you.
bro?
Like, okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
It's their day. I'm gonna work with whatever they want to do." But
Mhm.
he was just very like, bam, 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 bam. Like, really made it a point that he was in charge here. Like,
Right.
sort
yeah,
of thing.
some you deal with those personality types. It could be a vendor, it could be a mom, it could be just anybody,
Yeah.
really. You know what I mean? And you don't know what to expect, but it's important to make sure you treat it professionally and you understand how that can happen at any kind of event, even a corporate event. You've got
Yeah.
your CEO who's pissed, right,
Well,
for whatever reason.
And in my case, I showed up and I literally had no audio. Like, like.
That's a big one.
Like, what were we gonna do if
Yeah.
I didn't show up with the system? I would have had to ran back to the office,
Oh, I just had one, but you had to run back to the office, get a whole sound
get a
system.
whole sound system, and there was no way I could have had that thing set up in time
Yeah.
for their event to start, which was at 6:00.
Mm-mm.
Like,
It's frustrating because they don't give you enough time, and if you'd have just known, you'd been like,
Right.
oh yeah, no problem, I can bring whatever you need and all that. But I did go to a barn wedding, and the generator went out.
ooh,
They ran out of gas, and luckily it was before everything started. I had an extra long extension, so they had a house. They were like, if you can get a line to the house, we can still make this happen. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got 100 foot. Let's make it happen, right? And then they were able to get gas, fill the generator. But I can't even remember the name of the venue. But we did it, and it was up north.
Speaking of power, So then when I get there, and I'm just going to be in the back of the room, right, with just my decks, and they're like, okay, we'll have you plug in right here, which is power that the bar was using, and there was another plug plugged in there. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's our refrigerator.
Oh,
Okay, so
don't pull that.
with just my decks, no problem.
Yeah.
Basically, you're just powering up like a laptop, right?
Yeah.
Pulls no power. But now I had a full sound system.
Subwoofers, line array
I'm
speakers.
plugged into the refrigerator
And
line.
fridges pull power, don't they?
It's crazy power.
Yeah. So you blow. I mean, were you okay?
I was okay. It didn't blow. So this is what was funny though. When I was tearing down at the end of the night, all of a sudden, pop, boom, all the power goes down. I wasn't even playing, like everything was turned off.
Wow.
But I don't know what happened. They popped power. It didn't happen during the event, but
Was there dancing or was it just like
No.
normal?
no dancing
Just
at
like a
all.
nice
They
formal event.
It was a fundraiser, so they did an auction. They auctioned
Okay.
off some really cool stuff. So I don't know if I mentioned this. It was an Andy Warhol theme.
No, you didn't. Nice.
Super cool.
So
And they did a really, really good job. Like they had like the Andy Warhol soup cans like stacked all
yeah,
over the
paint
place.
the picture for people who haven't been to Electric Playhouse. What is that place like?
So I guess it's more like a visually stimulating experience.
It's like a art
interactive art.
Yeah.
Different kind of displays and things like
Mhm,
that,
yeah.
right around the place.
Mhm.
And so Andy Warhol, for those of you that are familiar with his work and stuff, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
They had a live painter that was painting like an Andy Warhol inspired with the soup can, but on it said Pozole.
Nice.
Yeah, it was,
That's cool.
and it was really well done. And they auctioned that piece off.
nice.
So honestly, like when it came down to the atmosphere,
yeah.
it looked super cool. They did a really, really good job with it.
Nice. And it's like projected onto the walls.
They had
right?
they had Andy Warhol projections and stuff going through.
The projection mapping in that place is insane.
Yeah.
It's so cool how they do that. And then when you're not there for like an art exhibit, they do like board games and stuff.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah, you could take like your kids there and they would all have a blast because they throw dodgeballs at the wall and paint splatters and
Oh,
stuff,
cool.
right? But it's all through projection, which
Yep.
is insane.
It was really cool.
That's cool.
That's why I was like super bummed.
That's why
on
exactly
my end
it
of
gets
things.
even more frustrating because
Right.
could have been better.
Yep.
I understand that.
So yeah. So I mean, talking through these common surprises. Now let's give like a few strategies for dealing with some of these unexpected surprises. And we've kind of talked about that a little bit and how we've been doing some of this, with some of our past events and experience. But I think if you've been in the game long enough, you know what to expect, especially when it comes to weddings. Like, okay, if something's going to go wrong, what's going to happen? So weather, for example, right? Okay, if I go out to Hotel Albuquerque and I'm set up underneath the pavilion and I see that there's a 70% chance of weather, I'm going to probably have some stuff ready to go and
Right.
just know what we need to do in the event that rain starts falling,
Yeah.
right?
So it's doing your research beforehand, making sure you're prepared, and like we talk about, having the bag, right? Having your bag of whatever you may need, putting extra stuff, and if you don't touch it, great. But if you need it, it's amazing.
And having a backup plan.
Yep.
Like so this was what was funny. I had an event last week
Mhm.
and I was, preparing for this event, and in the trailer is my sound system. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it in there just in case.
Yeah.
Thank God. Because I was almost going to take it out. It makes the trailer lighter, and just, and then I don't have to worry about the gear being stored in the trailer. You
Right.
know how Albuquerque is.
Yep.
I hate leaving gear and equipment in a trailer. You just never know. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it in there just in case. Thank goodness I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Because we might have been a SOL there. So yeah, and then part of dealing, I think, with the unexpected is also like your attitude and demeanor. And I think I've gotten better with this over time. You have to stay calm.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's really hard to do, and it's really easy to get frazzled and start panicking. And I got to admit, when we started talking through this with their team and what was happening and going on, they stayed pretty calm, excuse me, themselves.
Nice.
And we were like, okay, let's talk through this. And I remember she came up, one of the coordinators that came up to me, and she was like, what is our worst case scenario?
Yeah.
And kind of in that tone. She's like, what's our worst case scenario here? And I was like, okay, our worst case is that I've got a system,
Yeah.
that we can use and bring out. It's right there. It's in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay, let me go talk with them and let me see what we can figure out and getting you connected. And then she came back to me a little bit later. She's like, bring it out.
Yeah, we're going to need it.
We need it.
Yeah.
And I could tell, I don't know, they were going through other things too, just on their end with planning.
Something else.
They even made mention of it when, which was, I don't know if I would have done, if I, as the MC, like, or, towards the end of the night.
They mentioned it to the crowd?
Well, they were just kind of like, we just want to thank you all for, dealing with some of the hiccups, you've all been great and blah, 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 blah.
You don't mention that, and half of them are like, don't even realize there were hiccups.
Right. Well, but I don't know what else was going on. I was
true.
I was so concerned with my part of things. I was so embedded into my. I didn't even get footage.
Yeah.
I didn't take any pictures, any video. I took an initial like, "Hey, Instagram, I'm here tonight at Electric Playhouse," and then everything started. I was like, I didn't have any help with me because I didn't need it. I didn't.
Well,
need
you
an
didn't
assistant.
expect. You were just rolling in. You didn't. You were like, you're just gonna stand there while I roll it in.
I went in there with those expectations, and then I ended up having to do the job literally of like a crew of 3 or 4 people, and it made it tough.
That's tough.
But once again, getting back to this here and staying calm, staying calm is huge. It just if your head isn't clear, then you can't think straight and you can't think quickly. And typically what happens, especially at weddings, time is of the essence.
Yep.
When things
Figure
start,
it out fast.
you've got to figure it out, and you got to figure it out fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even more so a lot of times, and that's what happened in this case, is that done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have time to be perfect. I can't go all the way back to the office, grab a few more sets of speakers, which is really what we needed to go around there. I needed to bring in what we call our ceremony setup that had the extra microphone set up with it and mixing board dedicated to that, so we could have extra mics.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to have spare microphones for them.
Yeah.
So I didn't have 2. I didn't even mention this part. They had some microphones in the back. For them.
Okay.
And she brings one out. She's like, "Can we hook this up to yours?" I was like, "Yes."
Oh, there you go.
So we hooked it in. I didn't know if it was going to travel far enough.
Oh yeah, the box
but it worked.
Okay.
But here I am. I'm dealing with 2 different sets of microphones and frequencies and all this. And we were kind of getting like some a little bit of ringing feedback. I'm trying to figure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But once again, just doing what I could do, right?
Yep.
And staying calm. And I think being able to do that, just take a deep breath, not get frazzled, work as quickly as I could, but within kind of like what I would consider just under control.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it allowed us to really get through the night. They were pretty appreciative of it at the end of the day. We've gone through some emails back and forth afterward. They want us to work with them next year on their event.
That's good.
They were like, that. We understand that is not a reflection of you and your company.
Nice.
We thank you so much for having that system.
Yep.
Because I was apologetic to them.
you low-key saved their ass, so.
I know. I was apologetic, though, because I was like,
I can understand.
I mean, I want to represent them well. I want to do a great job for them. I want and just in all honesty, I felt it was just subpar for our standards.
Yeah.
No,
but it's okay because you fixed it and you were able to still make it work and deliver. That's where it gets frustrating because we know it could have been better, right? But hey, they're happy. They want to book us again. Let's move forward and crush the next
they
one,
asked,
right?
They actually asked my, advice. Like, what would you advise us? This was their first time doing this, by the way.
Oh, well, nice. Okay,
So we set a baseline.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And I told them, look at this, and we talked at the end of the event. I was like, hey, you guys, like, what you needed was a production. Like, you needed a production crew, not just a DJ to come in and play music. I'm like, you really needed production level elements here. I was like, so what that consists of is everything I just talked about earlier, right? Having a production board, having an audio, what I would consider an audio tech, somebody that's dedicated to the microphones, watching the sound, watching the levels. Then we've got somebody that's a media tech that's got all of their cue points
and the projectors or all of that.
Yep. With all of that, then you have your DJ that can just worry and focus about the DJing aspect
Music,
of it.
whatever you may need.
And then a fourth guy for me would be the utility man, with a runner,
Yeah.
like doing any of the miscellaneous stuff. Like, okay, I need you to go over here and get this. Go run this cable. Take whatever.
Yeah.
Just I like to have an extra guy on hand.
Extra set of hands, really helpful.
Really helpful for anybody and anything that's kind of going on, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a production squad that event needed, in addition to probably a little bit extra.
Well, if
They
you
needed sound reinforcement.
Yeah, but if you have those team members in play, it allows them to focus on that one job, and
Right.
you're not running yourself thin. People can really deliver that, and then they can focus on something else, and that's nice to know that that's taken care of and all of that. But yeah, it sounds to me like you really did need like a production team versus
Totally.
just you.
And then the last thing I want to talk about here, when talking about managing client expectations and just navigating these event surprises, is really communication.
Yeah,
That's the key in all of this, and just emphasizing the importance of that. And I thought we had great communication.
that's where it's tough because you did your job,
right?
You communicated, you asked them, you talked, and they give you all the okay, great.
Even
Sounds good. We'll see you
the day before we had a final kind of communication, and I was like, I just want to,
We're good, right?
I just want to make sure I'm just plugging in, correct? And she was like, yep, we're all good. Oh, and because I had asked them about their what they wanted as a monogram on the TV
Oh,
screen.
nice. Yeah, the logo.
Yeah, and so yeah, so we actually, I thought we had communicated and done that, but it was a learning experience for them.
Yeah.
This was like their first production,
Mhm.
and for them also to understand the elements that go into play when it comes to audio and sound, and really doing it right, and doing it the right way. So, and as you get more experience, you end up learning from your mistakes, right?
Mhm.
And that's a big thing in anything that you're doing in the event industry. And that's why experience matters, and you become more valuable over time. And we've talked about value, and that's, in past episodes, but all of these things are huge and come into play, right? When you start doing more and more events, because then and that's why I know when I walked in and they started talking with me about all these elements, I'm like, in my mind, I'm just looking at her and I'm like, this is a production. This is not what you, this is not what you hired me for.
Wait, hold on. I was just the music. Now you want me to do everything? No.
Yeah.
So. It's important to have that communication and make sure that just those expectations are set. But this is a unique case where you did all that and it still didn't work.
No. But I think having that past experience,
it allowed you to even be prepared.
It allowed me to
it sparked that bulb in you to be like, I don't know, maybe I'll put the sound system in there. You know what I mean? Like you've already had that happen. So.
The gut feelings of an experienced professional is going to be a lot different than someone that hasn't done this, and they don't have those gut feelings.
Yeah.
And they'll just be like, oh, you're SOL.
Yeah.
I don't have any sound.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, well,
You
I
paid
guess
me
I'm going to
for
go
sound.
home.
Yeah, right.
And I think having, I don't know, I had that feeling beforehand. So I was kind of glad that I trusted that. So just kind of to wrap this whole thing up, with this topic, I think it's important you set expectations. Think of the ways that your event can go sideways, right? Like what are the different challenges that could pop up that you might not be expecting? Have a plan for those challenges.
Yep.
And then have strategies in place, like how you're going to deal with it. Having patience, staying calm, having the bag, your emergency kit.
Just backup stuff.
Having backup gear and equipment, and then being able to troubleshoot. And troubleshooting at events. So I think I didn't talk too much about this, but this is something I don't think enough of us practice because we don't want to. I'm guilty of this at times.
I'm good at practicing it when I train others because I'll set it up. I'll mess everything up and say, okay, fix it.
Right.
But I'd never.
But even so, helping others at events, right? Like troubleshoot.
Yeah.
If you see a problem happening, instead of saying, oh, well, that's not my problem, it's good practice for you to being able to maybe kind of work through it. Like, okay, well, what can we do here to maybe help them out or help out the situation or make it a little bit easier, even though it's going to take a little bit more of your time, right?
Yeah.
And so I think being aware of that and that's how you work on troubleshooting, right?
Yeah.
Is when something that's not your problem, helping to solve the problem, right? Like that's a good way to, because when a problem happens to you, now you'll have had some experience or you have more experience of practicing staying calm, like all those things.
Exactly.
Right? So, and then communicate.
Yep.
And sometimes you just can't communicate enough. and things still happen.
But then that's where other things kind of fall in and help pick up that, right? Because you did everything, but you also were prepared. And so
Right.
because that fell short, that picked up the slack.
Yeah, we were still able to have an event.
Exactly.
And it was a charity event. Like, this was something like people spent
It's
a
important.
lot of money.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of money there. I mean, people love the music. There were people like especially when their auction was over and people were kind of leaving.
Kind of livened up.
It did. Like, people were dancing. Like, they were loving the music and the mixes and the just the vibe.
Nice.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
And I handed out a few cards.
There you go.
So I would say overall it was pretty good. It's just one of those where it kind of eats at me a little bit. Could have been. We could have.
Could have been great.
Could have done this so much better.
Well, you're ready for next year.
That's right. That's what I told them too. I was like, just wait till next year.
Right now we got now, like you said, you have a baseline. You have
Right.
something to go off of, and yeah, for them to do all of that for their first time, and I mean, from all that, it sounds like it was pretty successful.
I would
from
say so.
everything, right?
It was definitely more.
It's good.
Yeah, it could have.
Hopefully, they got some money from it.
They made some good coin on that one during their auctions.
That's
So
what it's about.
It was
so.
cool. All right, so we're gonna wrap that one up and get into.
Oh yeah,
You know it.
you love it.
We do it
It's time
for.
the grab bag. That was good.
Yeah, the people like that one. That was good. Okay, so we've got a few grab bags, some more TikToks here for you. So this one is by Chassman. She's got a wedding hot take.
Hot take.
Yep. So let's see.
I just got married 3 weeks ago, and I'm going to share one of my biggest wedding hot takes. Your wedding is not about you. I have been in wedding Facebook groups probably since I was 17 years old. One of the things that I feel
She
like I
looks like
see
she's
all
18.
the time is brides-to-be cheering each other on in those groups and just being like, you do whatever you want, it's your day, and if anybody else has a problem with it, they can go. And at the end of the day, what I think couples need to remember is that there are guests that are making sacrifices to be a part of your day. If you're hosting a dinner party and you're expecting people to come over and you're not being a good host or providing them with a good experience, you can't expect them to stay. And I love this notion of like a guest forward wedding where your guests are at the heart of every single thing that you do throughout the day. I think that there's somewhat of a misconception that you have to have a really big budget in order to have a guest forward wedding. I don't even know why I bought this thing because this is like the exact texture of
curling
my
her
natural
hair.
hair. I think at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you spend, but it's about the experience that you're able to create for your guests. So I'm going to share a couple examples. One thing you can do is make sure that you're creating space for a good conversation. And some of that comes down to the venue you choose, but also how you choose to lay out your space. Another thing that you can do that costs literally no money is encourage authenticity in your wedding ceremony. It's good to keep in mind that a lot of your guests might actually not know both of you as a couple, so using your ceremony as a good opportunity to introduce your relationship to all your family and friends. Talk to your officiant and tell them how important authenticity is to you when designing your ceremony. It doesn't have to be difficult. Think of things that you enjoy when you're going to a party and recreate those experiences during your wedding.
Yeah. So that was
Interesting.
that was a good take. Just on thinking about your guests and what that experience looks like for them, right?
Well, I think when you reflect on a wedding day, it wasn't just you having fun with your fiance or whatever. You had fun with your people, your
Right.
guests. And so I think she hit it around the head saying, like, if it's a dull party, they're going to leave. Or if it's a dull event, they're going to leave because just like any other dull event, people leave. And so it's important to be mindful of that. I love the encourage communication thing. And what I think she means by that is like, what I took was don't have your cocktail hour in the same space as your dinner space. Have
Yeah.
those in different areas so you can encourage talking, communication.
Tall boy tables
Yeah.
where you're standing and you can move around and have
Mhm.
space to.
Yeah.
I like that too because I think those are little things that make a huge difference that a lot of couples maybe don't even think about,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
they'll be, you say you have dinner and cocktail in the same area. They're in one centralized space for like 3 hours now. So they've been,
Right.
if they go sit down, they've been sitting there for 2.5 hours when you finally open up the dance floor. So
Right.
that transition from cocktail space to dinner space is really, really big. And making sure you're putting your guests forward is pretty important. I think, be mindful that I think you should want it to be kind of your day. It is your wedding.
well, I mean, it is your day and you're curating the experience that you want to have, right?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why weddings are so unique, because it's really based on that couple.
Mm-hmm.
But you also, I think she's hitting on being mindful of those people that you're inviting. You're asking them to come into your event. It is an
Yeah.
event. It's entertainment of some sort, right?
Yep.
You're asking them to watch you get married and then to have a party.
Yep.
And
But yeah, they're having to sacrifice, take a weekend off, maybe
Right.
buy a hotel, buy flights, right? And so it's important to, I think, be mindful of those things, because sometimes we can get caught up in all the money we're spending and not even thinking about, oh, these guys spent a lot of money to get here, and just be more appreciative of that and make sure it's mindful of being mindful of them and them having fun too, versus just, I want to hear my songs on my wedding day and nothing else, you know?
so speaking of being mindful at weddings, here's the next hot take. And this is it looks like, I don't know if this is a podcast, but it's called The Vendor Table. It's on TikTok. So this is two people talking about another hot take and being mindful of guests. This is a good one.
Let's see.
Be allowed at weddings. Hot take!
Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't even know how I feel about
Matt's
that.
laughing. Matt's laughing.
I have a
We
kid.
both have children.
We
So
both
they're
have
saying
children.
kids shouldn't be
I-
allowed at weddings.
Okay. Thank you.
From a mom perspective, I don't want my kid at a wedding. I don't.
Hot take.
Hot take. I want a party.
I don't.
If I was a guest, I would want my son to be at a babysitter's or with his grandma or something.
Same.
Okay, hot take. I agree. Kids suck at weddings.
They do. They cling to their parents. They're tired. They're whiny. And I
Ryan.
They
love
don't
kids.
cling to their parents.
Love kids.
They cling to
I
the
love mine.
DJ.
They
I love mine too.
run
I don't know if I
to
like
the
other
dance
people's kids.
floor.
Yeah, me too.
They got their hands
Like
on
my
the
kids.
TV screen.
Really. But hot take, okay? I agree with this.
I
Maybe
kinda
like a
agree.
certain age.
Yeah.
Like you cut it off. Like 14.
Yeah.
Like where they could fend for themselves. Like give them an iPad.
I'm going to need to see birth
Kids
certificate.
shouldn't be allowed.
14 and you give them an iPad.
Kids at weddings.
I don't. I would say like 8, 9, and below.
They need to be like, at least be able to be self-sufficient
Yeah.
and be able to listen to the parents. But so this is what gets me at weddings, okay, with kids. I'm not anti-kid. I've got kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am anti-kids at weddings, like plain and simple. But I'm also anti-parents with kids at weddings, okay? Because she's right. The parents are there. They want to let loose. And so what do? They don't watch their kids
Yep.
at all. They let the kids, they feel like, oh, just let them
Run
go run
'em
on the
up.
dance floor.
Yeah,
Let them run. They're
they're
running
fine.
all over the place. They're picking up our uplights.
Yep.
They're doing all kinds of stuff, and they are not paying any attention to them whatsoever.
Yep.
And so, or I felt so bad. I think it was Micah recently at an event. We had kids, like you said, that were coming up and putting their hands on on our DJ booth screen.
Yeah.
It's a TV. And so he keeps going over there and telling the kids, could you please not, touch, don't touch.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mama Bear comes out
Oh, yeah.
and gets like super defensive. You don't need to tell him, blah, 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 blah. But she wasn't watching him. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just, kids at weddings, that's not the event for kids.
No.
It's not.
I like people who do like kid rooms.
Yeah, so have a plan.
Have a plan. Throw them all in there. Give them some games. Throw on a movie, and they're fine. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because you don't want those kids at that event. You don't want to be worrying about them. You just want to know that they're safe, and that you can party and let loose.
Here's something that for you couples out there, if you're listening to this and you're having an event and there's going to be a lot of kids, you might as well just kiss your dance floor goodbye while the kids are there.
Yeah.
Because adults don't want to be on the dance floor with kids. And so your dance floor,
different,
I've seen it happen over and over and over. All right, everybody, come on out. We're going to have a good time. All the kids are out there. None of the adults are going out there.
Yep. And you're having to play like Mambo number 5, Shake It Off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's just kids are dance floor killers.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of kids on the dance floor. Forget it. Adults don't want to be anywhere near them.
It's true.
So, okay. Last one here. This one's a good one. This is not necessarily wedding industry based, but it's a social media hot take.
Cool.
Yeah, this one's good. Let me start it from the beginning. Here we go.
Can you please stop posting images to your Instagram feeds? I see brands doing this 5 to 7 times per week. Stop it. It's literally doing nothing. The marketing industry has changed and this does not lead to more sales. So instead, you need to use this exact marketing strategy that our clients are having some incredible success with. First up, you need to prioritize posting on TikTok before it's too late. I want you creating content that tells a story, it's entertaining, and it provides value to your audience. Remember that this channel is a lifestyle channel and it's not here to just sell. You want to think of it like being the Kardashians and not the ad break. So every time that you post on TikTok, this content's going to go to a brand new audience. And I want you to use this exact video and repost it to Instagram Reels and make sure it goes to feed. And this will also go to a new audience and also get you new followers. Rinse and repeat this every single day. Do not miss a day, and then retarget everyone using Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok ads.
So, yeah. Saw that. So yeah, Instagram is now pushing way more SEO, but also too, they are. I saw it's very controversial because people are scared to not post to their feed, right? They don't want to get the likes that they already know that they're going to get. But if you post to not your feed, Instagram puts it out to the world, not to the only 1,200 people who follow you or whatever, right? And so it's actually a lot more exposure. If you're looking for growth, that's the way to do it, is start posting and not post to your feed. There's a little tab when you're posting. You just hit that and it says not to my feed. And then get stronger on SEO on Instagram because they're trying to catch up to TikTok. But right. TikTok is king. Keep posting on TikTok. Put more videos on TikTok.
So think about where I'm grabbing content for these grab bags from. It's all TikToks.
Yeah.
So I think a lot more people are using TikTok to find their tips, tricks, hacks, quick hitters. I don't go to Instagram at all for that. I mean, I might come across some of that.
Well, that's just goes to show you that that's people. What we've been talking about. People are searching for answers there instead of Google.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't Google hot takes. We went to TikTok and found some. Right. And so that's
if you want to find a restaurant, top 5 restaurants in Albuquerque.
So yeah, make sure when you're doing that video, Floral, all these vendors who are listening, make sure you're putting best right by your thing. You told me that one. Best floral in Albuquerque.
Google told me that.
Yeah, there you go. Google's still out here.
When I went to our to the Google Summit, a few years back, they were, I listen. Whatever Google says, I do. I mean, they are the king of search.
It's true.
And they own YouTube, so whatever they say to do it.
Yeah. What's interesting is TikTok is now telling us, all of their users, to make your posts longer than 1 minute. Make them 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They want to keep eyes on the app, but also, too, people are consuming longer content on TikTok. I know I do it myself when I'm doing laundry, dishes. I got my TikTok rolling right over there, and it'll be the little dash will move slow.
Right.
And I'll be like, oh, cool. This is a good one. I can let that roll while I'm doing something, right? And so I think even I wanted to do longer clips of our pods on TikTok too, just do longer bits because that's kind of where it's gravitating towards. But yeah, Instagram hashtags I hear are dying.
Yeah.
It's all just SEO.
That's what I've heard as well.
Do like maybe 2 or 3 if you're feeling it, but nobody's
hashtag dead.
Yeah, hashtag dead. Well, those are keywords. It's like keywords in your post. But now Instagram will just search the whole sentence that you write versus just words.
Well,
but I haven't seen a lot of it. But we just got an inquiry from Instagram this week, right? For Hotel Albuquerque. So
right. No, I mean, so the thing is, we've talked about this before, that AI is taking over, and AI is being incorporated and integrated into everything, including search. So all these search engines, I guarantee you, they've got crazy AI machines that are going through, and they're just smarter, right? And smart enough to be able to figure out, okay, Tony has searched for this topic the last 2 posts, and now that they just start feeding it to you.
Like start giving them more and more wedding DJ content or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I also love that what he said about storytelling. I think we could get better at that because I'm pretty good at making a nice ad on, oh, look, this is what our wedding looked like. And yes, we're telling a story a little bit, but it's more of like, this is what your wedding
be more conscious.
Yeah. So I think
or deliberate, I guess.
And one thing I've read about was just tell the story of your day. So like, oh, this is what I did today. I got dressed, did our wedding, we did all this, and then just doing your voiceover over that. That's
I
one way
like
to
your posts when you do that. Like when I see you, when you start off, you know, kind of setting up.
like driving.
You're driving, then you see you setting up.
It does tell a story a little bit.
It does.
Yeah, you're right.
And I really like those videos. You know, then here's a little clip of the ceremony. Then you're fist pumping, you know.
Yeah.
I need to do more of that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's so hard when you're not being self-aware and conscious of it.
We've talked about it. We need to make a shot list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I could do that today because we're going to have assistants and it'd be nice to give them a shot list.
So tell the peeps what we've talked about with that
so a shot list
they can do too. And
yeah. This is great. Just write down 10 things that you want photos and videos of and do it beforehand. It's, of course, you'll be in it. Oh, yeah, let me get a photo. Let me get a video. Yeah. This is perfect. This looks great. But if you have a list, you can check off. Videographers and photographers, I'm sure, do that all the time. They have their list of, oh, we need to make sure we have all of our parents. We got to make sure we get all of our wedding party photos. They have this list of photos that they need. You could do the same thing if you're an officiant. Let me get a photo of the ceremony space. Let me see if somebody will take a video of me or if I can just set up my tripod and hit record while the ceremony's happening.
Check this out.
What is it?
I just put into ChatGPT, and all I said was, I need 10 shots for social media content.
There you go.
It says, of course, I can help you come up with 10 shot ideas for your social media content. Since you own and operate Cutmaster Music, I didn't even put that in.
Oh!
It knows, right?
Scary.
It says, since you own and operate Cutmaster Music, here are some suggestions tailored to your DJ event company. Number 1, behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to read that part, and then it gives a little bit, like it says, share a candid shot of you setting up DJ equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives the explanation. So I'm going to give you the 10. Behind the scenes. Event highlights. Number 3, DJ setup. Number 4, music selection. And that says take a snapshot of your music library, showing the diverse genres you can play. Number what was that? Number 5, team photo. Number 6, happy clients. Number 7, mixtape teaser. It says post a teaser image for an upcoming mixtape or playlist.
Oh yeah. Well, I did that. I did like a mashup of songs that were in my new mix.
Yeah.
Right. So
number 8, personalized wedding moments. Number 9, studio session. Number 10, family and fun. So it kind of went into like some different things, but you could then tailor that, right?
Good ones, yeah. There's some good ones in there, and yeah, I think you guys could do. We could do a lot of those, but yeah, having those lists of like making sure you have a pop and dance floor with you in the background.
Right.
A shot of the ceremony, a shot of the room uplit during dinner while the toasts are happening.
Yeah, or a before and after.
A before and after pic, right? If you can get a time-lapse video, squeeze that in there, right? Like all of those, have those so that when wedding day comes, you're just checking off a list, doing your thing because we're in it on wedding day and it's so hard to remember all of everything. So it's important to have that list because then you go, oh, I need to get that. Oh, okay, we still need to get that photo. Okay. So
you know what? I saw recently that was one of the, I don't know, it was a social media post about a shot list for guests at a wedding, and that they put them out in the middle of tables,
like a scavenger hunt.
It was a scavenger hunt. That's exactly what it was, and basically it was a shot list, you know, and then tag the couple, right?
Yeah.
All of it. So
like interactive.
It's kind of like that's like what we need just for us as vendors.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think just like a list of like, okay, get some. I think a photo with all the vendors, like the team day of. That's smart. That's a good way to like tag everybody and all of that. But yeah, having the shot list, the scavenger hunt is a cool way to like keep it interactive and fun and collect photos that you wouldn't even think about. I had a bride actually give me a suggestion or ask me if it was possible if guests could take pictures at their event and then it would come up on the TV screen. And I was like, oh, well, I've seen that done at like corporate events, so I don't see why not. So
there's a software.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called that does that.
You put a hashtag and then go onto the screen. And I was like, we could probably do that.
I mean, so if you had somebody dedicated to that, it would be so simple to just hashtag, use the hashtag or whatever and post it to Instagram. And then you could have somebody just monitoring it, right? And then just download them real quick and throw them into a slideshow.
So that's how it works?
And dump them in.
Someone has
well,
I've never
you
done
could do that. There's software that will automatically do it.
Yeah.
But you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Like it's
That's what I thought. I told them that. I was like, there's probably something, but we probably have to charge you for it. And they're like, oh,
no,
that's
there's software. In fact, when you use the hashtag, it's super cool.
goes up, right?
It
Yeah.
immediately goes to it, but it's also good to have somebody monitor that before and push the pictures.
You got someone taking a picture of their butt or something.
Exactly. Just start
Inappropriate photos, and they're like, oh, we'll skip that one.
Yeah. puts up a picture of the bride's ex-boyfriend,
That's hilarious. That is so funny. Someone's like putting in photos.
I've got this
just to be
picture in my
funny.
phone of them.
That's really funny, honestly. It's mean, but
Oh yeah.
Be like,
I don't
Got him.
for real. Oh, that's like a little brother just being a menace.
uh-huh.
Right.
Yep. All right, cool.
Nice.
It's time.
It's time, baby.
We've come to the last segment. Great Scott!
Run for it, Marty! It's often forgot about now.
I think so too. Like that's one of those like recurrence that you forgot about animals.
You drop in, you're like, oh yeah, this was amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, got some good ones. I had some other ones in here. Dynamite, Tao Cruz.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that.
I mean,
Call Me Maybe.
Chris Brown tracks. Yeah. Like, or what is it? Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think of a lot of those.
So
I mean,
many.
that was like kind of my peak of doing school dances.
Yeah.
Was like that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So the music was fun.
It was fun. It was definitely super, super fun. Dance music was coming in full force. LMFAO, all of these different DJs, Guetta, Tiesto, they were really Pitbull. Like they were all at the forefront of like making it 128 type beats. You know what I mean? And it's evolved. It's changed.
Yeah, because that was like the beginning of the EDM.
Getting into like
mainstream.
Like mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Episode number 31 is in the books, and we will do it again next week.
Let's do it. Appreciate you all for tuning in, ladies and gents.
See ya.
See you guys next time.
Thanks for checking out the Cutmaster Cast podcast. Make sure you stay tuned with all things related at www.cutmastermusic.com.